Okay. Right, well, welcome, good morning. Welcome to the Lean Transformation Framework session. We're pleased that you're able to join us this morning. My name's Dave Brunt. I run the day-to-day activities at the Lean Enterprise Academy, and I'm joined by David Marriott today. He's a senior lean coach at the Lean Enterprise Academy. If you want to ask questions as we go along, we'll stick those into the software and have a look at them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so Dan Jones founded the Lean Enterprise Academy in 2002 as a not-for-profit organisation. We're also a founding member of the Lean Global Network. Our purpose is to help people become self-reliant on their lean journey. We've got products and services that we offer to customers based around three key value streams: learn, teach and coach, and share. And at the intersection of each of those processes is our Lean Learning platform, where we are publishing learning processes and materials required to learn and implement Lean. The learning processes and materials are organised around the Lean Transformation Framework, which we both research and develop with partner organisations, and you'll learn more about how we use the learning processes we develop through the platform today. Okay, so in terms of agenda, first we're going to explain the background to the LTF, the Lean Transformation Framework. Then we're going to explain some common failure modes that we see when Lean is introduced in a quite traditional way. Next, we're going to explain the teach poster concept as part of the countermeasures and discuss how this works using the LTF poster. We'll then share some of the other posters that we've been developing and using, and we have left time, probably about 10 minutes for question and answers at the end. Okay, so John Shuck first shared the Lean Transformation Framework way back, I think in about 2014. It was an attempt to articulate the critical dimensions to be addressed when applying lean thinking and practice to a situation. The Lean Transformation Framework contends that the successful implementation of lean thinking and practice requires change on 5 dimensions, and lean thinking's got a point of view on each of those 5. Lean always starts with the customer, asking what value we need to provide. The question, what problem are you trying to solve, is fractal. It's like a snowflake. It applies equally to the whole organisation, to a team, or even to an individual. How are you doing on organisationally and individually on this question? Does your organisation have a clear purpose? Do individuals have a clear line of sight and understand their contribution to that purpose? And what problems should they be tackling? What's the work to be done to solve the problem? This is also fractal, from individual standardised work level to value stream or enterprise value stream level. Have you defined your current state, what your target future state is, and what steps and experiments are needed to close the gaps between the current and the target or future condition? Having defined the work to be done, we now ask what capabilities. We need to do and improve to do and improve the work to provide the value. Capability development is needed on at least 2 dimensions: capability to do the work and capability to improve the work. The design of the management system and leadership behaviours is key to designing the work and developing the capability. We'll share our views on management system for performance in the next hour slot that we've got after this one. You know, the management system for performance and improvement is intrinsic to sustaining progress and further improvement. So are you asking specific questions with a view to this, linking it back to the purpose of the organisation? And then the final question challenges our basic thinking or assumptions about how we do things and conduct ourselves. So with lean thinking, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting. Uncovering your basic thinking, mindset and assumptions helps articulate the thinking, mindset and assumptions needed. Okay, so that's all. That's a basic review of the LTF. Next, how have you introduced lean? So have you asked the fundamental LTF questions? Here's what we see when organizations traditionally introduce lean. We ask, why do they want to do it? Is their purpose for doing it clear? It's not enough to say to learn lean or to improve or to train people or become world class. With such a woolly purpose, it's no wonder people run into difficulty. What do people do? Predominantly, actually, they turn to learning tools and techniques. Practitioner courses teach the technical side of lean, value stream mapping, setup reduction, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if your problem won't be solved by the application of a tool, why would you start there? Next, think about how you've gone about introducing it. So have you sent people off to do classroom training? Maybe you've done some simulations and exercises. And again, that's all well and good. That's all well and good, but is that it? What capabilities do you need? And what are the best mechanisms for developing them? Have you thought about them, about the management system and behaviours required to do that? And who did the training? Outsiders, experts, consultants, maybe some academics, maybe your improvement team does the training. How many of you have leaders doing the introduction? Are they too busy to do that? Do they want someone to come in and do that for them? Is that the underlying thinking? It really disappoints me when people actually say that lean doesn't work. You know, what they actually mean is that they haven't really got lean to work. Outsiders doing classroom training to give people belts means everyone's certified and no one's capable. Improvement teams leading implementation often results in projects owned by specialists, not line management. Management systems carry on regardless, business as usual with some metrics on cost savings from lean projects. There's little chance that it becomes the way that we do things. There is a better way. The first LTF question asks us about the why. What problem are we trying to solve? What gaps are we trying to close? If we know this, we can decide on the work that is to be done and what we need to learn. Really, the balance of tools with the social elements of the changes we need to make. How we approach introduction depends on our capability. The classroom and simulations are appropriate if we need knowledge. But when we need understanding, we need to learn by doing, applying it to our situation. We need repetition and application in different environments to become capable, then a process to teach and coach others. We need to be asking how we will be self-reliant. How will we sustain and build upon the changes that we make? So who's going to do this introduction? We've already talked about the problem of having outsiders or the improvement team lead the introduction. There's a role for each, but not in the way we traditionally think. Outsiders need to teach leaders and improvement teams to become self-reliant. Improvement teams need the capability to teach and coach. Leaders, the capability to teach and develop their teams through doing. When done effectively, lean can become part of the way we do things. Performance and improvement can be built into the system. Our underlying thinking will change, and then the journey becomes real. Okay, so if the leader is to teach and coach, they need learning processes and materials to do that effectively. And for a sustainable lean transformation, we're strong believers in the concept of leaders as teachers. It is part of the leadership role to teach and coach the team on the job to develop their capabilities rather than relying on a separate function to do that for them. The challenge is to provide materials that enable leaders to do that. And that's where the Teach poster comes in. So rather than a 100-page PowerPoint slide deck, we distill the subject matter down onto one piece of paper, a bit like an A3. This is much less daunting for leaders to use, and it's much more informal than sitting down in a classroom looking at a screen. So all the posters have Similar layout structure, making them easier to follow and remember. And as you can see, images and pictures are used over words to stimulate interest and discussion. To learn the poster content, a facilitation guide covers important steps, key points and reasons for each of the images to assist the leader when starting out to teach. However, it's key that the leader puts their own experience into the teaching, making the content come alive for the situation in which it's being applied. And finally, you can put the poster up in the workplace for future reference rather than it being hidden on a PC. Of course, we follow PDCA too, and on the left is the upper portion of the LTF Teach poster from 2 years ago. On the right is the current standard. We've made the LTF process elements simple to understand, going from left to right rather than top to bottom. What we're going to do now is go quickly through the purpose elements so that you see how the poster works. Purpose positions the subject and why it's important. So on the right-hand side, if I click, you'll see a facilitation guide. This one shows the purpose graphic and the important steps, key points and reasons why. The purpose of the LTF is to apply lean thinking in practice. It's a framework to help people think about how to manage change using lean thinking in practice in any environment, not just the typical manufacturing areas that we see. We use LTF by asking 5 questions to successfully transform, as shown by the caterpillar butterfly picture. There are a number of principles behind this thinking. Customer first, whether that be the final customer or the next step in the process, we need to make sure that we understand requirements and ensure that we meet them as a minimum. Lean is value driven. It's the first principle in lean thinking. With respect to fulfilling the customer, how do we provide value with the activities or work that we do at an individual level through the organization or enterprise? By understanding our customer needs and value-driven purpose, we next need to think about what problems we're trying to solve. Are we solving problems aligned to the value-driven purpose? Remember, problems are good, like golden nuggets waiting to be dug up and discovered. Lean thinking views problems as gaps, something that is measurable. Why? Because if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Some organizations focus heavily on the process side of change and improvement, using and deploying tools. Some organizations focus heavily on people development, training, creating experts, etc. However, experience tells us it needs to be a balanced approach of both, and indeed all of the 5 dimensions of the LTF, as indicated by the different colors on the set of scales. Okay, so you can see how the facilitation guide works with the poster. Of course, we're on screen and we're not live and so on, so that's a little bit different. But here's the upper part of the poster in terms of purpose, process, and people. And to summarize, purpose positions the subject and why it's important, process the conditions and considerations required to apply it, and people the roles and responsibilities required to make it happen. The lower part of the Teach poster covers the 5 dimensions of the LTF, working out from the center. You see 5 areas, starting with 1, value, through to 5, culture. It looks busy at first, but each image triggers a teach, important steps, key points, reasons why, and the visual nature of it means that you can connect the different areas of the poster together as you go through. We only have 30 minutes total today, and we need to do some questions too. So we're just going to discuss section 2. How will we do and improve the actual work? And the reason that we chose this is because it's an area lean thinkers are usually comfortable with. Okay, so some things to think about when we ask how do we do and improve the work? Well, this needs to be answered in context to help solve the problem to support the value-driven purpose. So have we defined and designed the actual work processes based on achieving the customer requirements, the end customer and internal next step of the process? Work is done at different levels, from individual and standardized work level through to value streams, through to end-to-end flow. And at each level, the work needs to be defined and designed with respect to meeting the takt time at the pull of the customer to compress the lead time. Customer to, wherever possible, the process should be designed to not make and pass on bad work or defects, but to stop and call for help. With the work defined, designed and designed, next consideration is to seek to stabilize and then improve. So stability first, improvement second. Standardizing the work helps to provide the stability. Many of the lean tools can be used to help achieve stability and further improvement. It depends on the problem to solve. MUDA, waste, MORA, unevenness, and MORI, overburden, or the 3 M's, are key principles to keep in mind when seeking to stabilize and improve the work. Being able to identify and eliminate waste helps to allow more time to create value in the work activities. And this is represented by the red and green on the chart. Strategy for stabilizing and improving the work is eliminate, combine, rearrange, and simplify. Upon identifying the 3 M's, use these strategies to stabilize and improve. What we're trying to do is make the work easier. Less effort to get better results is the objective. So is the work to be done well defined and designed? Is the work at every level standardized? Is the work at every level being improved? To identify your own gaps, it's useful to reflect. What does your current state look like? What are the main gaps in your approach? What are the actions to close those gaps? How will you share good practices? It's a good idea to use the LTF as a PDCA process in its own right. What gaps did you have? How well did you close them? What have you learned? What's the next gap? And within the Teach poster, the facilitation guide, and we've also got a workbook that people can use to take senior teams through the LTF process. We have a series of these types of reflection activities and documents to help people to identify those gaps to close. Okay, so having covered the content, let's summarize before taking questions. Take a look, your next steps. Take a look at the materials on the LTF, on the learning platform in general at leanuk.org. Here you'll find free level 1 knowledge materials and information about the level 2 understanding learning process. The introduction process to the LTF is completely free. All you have to do is just sign up to get access to it. There are now about 6,000 users on our platform. Organizations are using the materials as their standard to build capability with their teams. Several organizations have told us that they've realized that developing good materials takes time. Don't we know it? That time will be better spent learning and doing with tried and tested learning processes rather than trying to develop materials from scratch. Why not spend that material development time developing capability? So as we shared last night with the Hologic case, we have companies developing real in-house self-reliance using these learning processes and learning materials. It's a game changer in terms of effectiveness and cost. And this is a really busy slide again, but it shows all of the different Teach posters that we've actually been developing and where they're placed around the LTF. Our intent is to develop materials across the LTF. We've developed learning materials and learning processes across all 5 dimensions. Examples include standardized work, problem solving, Kaizen, management systems for performance and improvement, etc. Our current action research projects include problem solving, capability development of leaders. So there's a whole load of stuff on core leadership skills for lean, the management system in terms of performance and improvement, and employee involvement, team working and designing value streams. And we're doing several of these with partner companies where they get early access to the materials and the opportunity to learn alongside us as we develop them. So here's a summary. We shared a learning process for developing and applying the lean transformation framework questions to your situation. What are your learning processes that enable you to provide better value for customers, create stability, and have everyone coming to work to do 2 things: do the work and improve the work? What are your processes for developing capability to do the work and improve the work to solve the problems you've identified to deliver value for your customer? And how self-reliant are you? have you worked out with your sensei what gaps you will close? How are you doing against that plan? Are you on a journey to become self-reliant in lean thinking and practice? We think our learning platform and the learning processes that we're developing really help companies to do this. It changes the economics of learning lean for organizations and individuals. And you can subscribe to all the materials that I've taken you through today for £100 plus VAT per year per person. And if you haven't taken a look, please do so. As you've seen from the Allogic case yesterday, it's pretty effective. Okay, so what questions do you have? Any questions on this talk? Over to you, Luke. You can drive now.
Hi everyone. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Type in your questions and we'll be available to answer any of them live now. Thank you.
Is there any way I can see them, Luke, the questions?
Yeah, you should be able to direct your mouse to the bottom of the screen and the Q&A button should appear. No. Possibly
stop sharing.
Yeah, you might need to stop sharing your screen. But we don't have any questions as of yet.
All right. Okay.
I know when I checked before, there was a couple of familiar faces as the attendees. I believe Terry's listening in. And Fred's here as well.
Here's one.
There you go.
How to deal with people who said they're too busy. Do you want to go with that one, Dave, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, well, both got an opinion, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to just read it out for everyone who hasn't seen it?
Yeah. So the question is how to deal with managers and leaders who said that they are too busy to do coaching and teaching. Does it mean the transformation lean will fail? Yes, it will fail, because the key concepts that we have seen in terms of failure modes is that leaders don't lead the transformation, rely on either outsiders or other people to do it. And actually, they say that they're kind of too busy when the transformation starts with what problem are you trying to solve. So they're too busy to deal with the problems that are actually causing their frustration, or too busy doing the same things over and over again, rather than actually getting to the root cause. So yeah, we tend to come across that quite a lot. But as Dave mentioned, it's fundamental. If you want to make this transformation sustainable, it has to be led with by the leaders, and that's why we only work with leaders in the organisation, and we get them to then teach and coach their people. If you want to add anything to that, Dave?
Yeah, I think if you think about being a leader and these change, lean's quite often packaged as a change initiative. These change initiatives come along, and actually a lot of the time those leaders are fearful. They don't really know how they fit into it. They don't really know what it means. And so actually getting leaders involved and engaged in learning about all this stuff so that they are capable to teach and coach others can be a game changer for them. It's not enough just to say, these people don't get it. What am I going to do? Change the leaders? Well, you can get a new set of leaders in and they might not get it either. So I think the more that you can involve and engage people and set the expectations of what is required, the better the chance you've got.
So we've got some more questions coming in. Sarah Davids first said, appreciation for complex concepts into visual poster. Yeah. And then she did also ask for to share some experiences where the poster was used.
Okay, so we shared last night the Hologic case, and what we did there is we we used the Teach poster to teach rapid problem solving, and we did that face to face in a 3-hour session. We did 9 people in one 3-hour session and 9 people in a second one. So there are 18 people then that had been through the poster activity. We also have case studies that are also online that back up the activity with the Teach posters. Then what we did was we coached 1 hour per week in teams of 3. So there were 6 different teams, 18 people, 1 hour per week across about 11 weeks, and each person then developed their own rapid problem solving activity related to the Teach poster. Then what we're now doing is we're getting the 6 of those 18 people to actually then learn to teach using the Teach poster. So we're coaching them on how to teach, and then we're going to teach them how to coach those people to solve the problems of another 18 people. So it's a pretty effective learning process to get people learning and become self-reliant in the approach. That's what we've done, Sarah.
So we've got a couple of more questions. Alistair's asked, as well as creating the poster, what impact do you think the act of standardising the training has had?
Go on, Dave.
Yeah, I think massive impact in terms of just getting that alignment along that leadership team, particularly with the rapid problem solving that we shared with Hologic. So now that's kind of like a common dialogue, common language about, the concern is what's the gap, can we contain it, get into root cause, and then putting the countermeasures in place. So I think it does have a massive impact. Also with the LTF poster, we've used that with senior leadership teams, and we found that is very powerful, again, just to get alignment of understanding amongst the leadership team about what the lean transformation framework is, for example, and the thinking behind some of the questions. Quite often it becomes apparent that they don't really understand some of the concepts, but have not sort of been too afraid to ask. So it's quite a good leveler in order to get everybody onto the same page. So yeah, I think it's in itself, it's kind of like, first step of improvement is standardization, and that's what we try to do with the Teach posters, rather than a multitude of PowerPoints.
Okay, so I think we've probably got time for one more question. So somebody asked, how do you demonstrate the value of applying the LTF or the Lean Transformation Framework to leaders whose talk is stronger than their actions?
Okay, I think the point of the LTF process is a reflection to try to enable leaders to work out the value-driven purpose, what problem they're trying to solve, and then to identify gaps in their approach that they can close. Because it's based on the failure modes that you see all the time in people trying to do this. So to answer that question, it's up to the leader to actually do good reflection, and to actually to be honest, really, about where the gaps are. The reality is that if you have somebody that maybe talks a better job than their actions, that becomes obvious through the process, and so everybody else works that out pretty quickly, really. What they then do about it, that's depends on the situation.
Okay. I don't think it is going to cut us off yet.
Okay.
which is good. But we've got quite a long question from Arena. So it says, hello, we're trying to initiate and implement a 2-year lean project in agriculture sector of Ukraine, mostly grain, oil and legume processing enterprises. What would be the best approach to engage different company leaders and engage them in quick wins so that the lean transformation becomes the company policy and significantly influences company processes, including export-oriented initiatives and market facilitation? So quite a lengthy question.
Well, I think our approach with any organisation that we start to work with is that we first of all run what we call an LTF session, which is taking that leadership team through the Lean Transformation Framework poster. So as Dave sort of explained, purpose, process, people, and then the 5 dimensions and the thinking behind that, and then get them as a team to assess what gaps do they have around each of those questions. And hopefully that then starts to provide some of the alignment, and also, as I mentioned before, maybe helps with some of the understanding of the thinking behind some of the questions as well. But yeah, that would be our approach, I think. Dave, that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think what you've actually got to do is you know what the research that formulated the LTF was about is looking at failure modes. What are the failure modes? And what John concluded was you need change for it to be successful. You need change on 5 dimensions, which are the 5 dimensions of the LTF. So, you know, your question is particularly about quick wins. You know, you'd start with those 5 questions and that reflection activity. Then what you do is you then start to stratify and say, right, what can we do quickly? But you need to address the 5 questions. You know, there are some things that are very, very long term in terms of developing people capability. Might take a career length time to develop somebody, and so that's not a quick win. But there's lots of quick wins that can be made from solving simple problems, making work easier for people, aligning everybody around a common purpose. You know, there's lots and lots of quick wins that you can have just by doing those types of things.
I think, as you said, David, you know, the LTF is fractal, so it's like a snowflake. It's the same questions, whatever magnification you look at it. Yeah. So it's appropriate for whatever level in the organization. So to get a quick win, just pick a problem at a lower level within the organization rather than, you know, a high level strategy-based challenge to get those quick wins. It's still the same questions. What's the problem? How do we do and improve the work? How do we develop the capabilities? What's the management system and leadership behaviors around that change? And what's the mindset challenge? So again, you know, you've just got to pick off where do you want to start to get that quick win.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's it for now. So thank you very much, everybody. We actually do have a session on in half an hour with David.
At 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9 o'clock UTC. Developing a lean management system. So hopefully we can see everybody there.
Thank you. Good session.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.